Welcome, Mage. I'm Rhino, and today we're going to be talking about not 10, but we got 6.
6 budget commander decks from Tarkir
Yeah.
Dragonstorm. So what makes them a budget deck?
They're $2.
Okay, the commander
Commander
is
is.
$2. Any other cards over $2?
No,
No. So these are all fairly inexpensive cards. How about the total cost of the deck?
not 50, but we got 30.
So everything's under $30, and some of them a lot cheaper than that. So these decks are really high synergy decks. We've taken plenty of time to try these decks out, work on them. We didn't want to come out with them too early because sometimes the prices of these cards go up and down. And there's a couple of cards that we've had to take out because for some reason they spiked in value. Don't know why, but yeah, they have. And these aren't always the most obvious deck builds. Some of them are. And we have deck lists in the description, so you can see them there. And while you're at it,
Give us a thumbs up and subscribe.
okay. So obviously all these decks are bracket 2 on the beta bracket system. And they're designed to be like really fun interactive decks, and they're cheap enough that you can play a new player and then afterwards, hey, give them the deck. See what it's like. So let's shift over to the first one, which is, oops, it's not that one. It's this one.
Eshki Dragonclaw.
Okay, so what does Eshki Dragonclaw have?
Well, she has Trample, Vigilance, and Ward 1.
And what happens at the beginning of combat on your turn?
Well, you have to cast a creature and a non-creature and draw a card. And
Yeah. So if you cast a creature and a non-creature before combat,
before combat.
you get to draw a card.
Right. And put 2 counters on her.
Okay. So this sounds like the most obvious build is a Voltron. Is that what we did?
No.
No. So what is this deck?
It's very heavy on creatures and somewhat
Non-creatures.
non-creatures.
So this is a really classic swingy, brawling sort of deck. As you look through the spells, are there a lot of high-costed spells?
No.
No, no. The mana curve's pretty low on this, so it should be a lot of fun. You should be able to get a lot of things going back and forth. It should be very interactive, and it's just one of those good old get in there and swing and got creatures, some big, some small, some spells going back and forth. It's a lot of fun. So number 5 is a Narset Jeseki Waymaster. All right, at the beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw cards equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn. Well, I hate to say it, but we had to go with what was pretty obvious. You want to basically have a super low mana curve. So the most expensive spell to cast in this is
3.
which is Narset herself. Everything else is under 3. So that way, when your turn comes up, you can cast everything out of your hand. But don't fear, because as long as you have Narset out, you can cast everything out of your hand, and then you get to draw that many cards again. Plus, on top of that, there's some other ways of drawing extra cards. So you may start out with your hand of 3, and then you can put 4 back in, or 5. And so it's you really want to have almost an empty hand towards the end anyway. And a lot of times, you might have a land or two. You at this point you'll just go ahead and discard them. That's fine. You should be able to cast everything out of your hand except for you're stuck with the only 1 land per turn. But this deck has got a lot of fun things in it. Everything's really, really low cost. And if we scroll way, way down here, you can see that the average mana value is 1.69. This is really, really low. Uh, yeah, but it doesn't have the problem of running out of cards because you're going to be drawing lots of cards to go with this. So number 4 is
Felithar, Dawn of the Abzan.
okay. So what does Felithar have?
Uh, well, when he enters, or attacks, you can sacrifice a creature, a non-land permanent, and put a 1 counter on everything.
Yeah, each creature.
Each creature.
And he's got trample as well.
Yeah.
So, is this a go wide strategy?
No.
All right. Yeah, it's pretty much go big with what you have. Is there any proliferate in this deck?
No.
No. Okay. Hey, why don't you have proliferate in this deck?
Because you're gonna put a counter on everything.
Yeah. So this is designed to just keep adding counters, as opposed to trying to proliferate counters. So a lot of times with proliferate, you want to be able to proliferate like a poison counter or loyalty counters. This is very, very simple. Just add counters. You don't have to do a lot of that mental gymnastics to remember, oh, okay, I want to turn this up and this up. It's very, very straightforward. So you've got, there's a bunch of creatures in here, and
heavy on creatures
and heavy on combat shenanigans.
Yeah.
So this is our number 4 pick. Number 3 is Evol, Arbiter of Virtue. So what does Evol have?
Yeah, it's flying.
And lifelink.
And lifelink. And
spells you have you cast have Delve. All right. Delve is one of those things that a lot of new players don't know. It's kind of a tricky thing to do. It's almost counterintuitive in some cases. But this deck is all about Delve. So what you do with Delve is whenever you want to cast something, any of the generic mana can be used. What you can do is you can exile cards from your graveyard to pay for that. So it's like getting a bunch of extra mana for free, but you're exiling cards. So this deck, you want to put a bunch of things into your graveyard. And then there's some really, really cool spells in here that have X in their casting cost that can do all sorts of big things. So if you've got like 20 cards in your graveyard and you can exile those, then you can have that X value become a 20 or a 13 or whatever you need to really do some major things in here. It's a little more difficult to pilot, but it's a lot more difficult to kind of disrupt because a lot of this stuff just kind of shows up out of nowhere. And if people don't really know that you need your graveyard, then nobody's going to exile your graveyard. So that is our number 3 pick. I'm also going to do our number 2 pick, which is Kotus the Fang Keeper. So Kotus the Fang Keeper has this wonderful, wonderful keyword ability, which is
indestructible.
So indestructible. All right. Now, yes, of course, you can exile him, and he can be forced to be sacrificed and stuff like that. But indestructible is really darn cool. So whenever he deals combat damage to a player, exile the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of damage dealt. You may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana costs. So what are we trying to do with Kotus here? What sort of deck? Well, we got a lot of equipment. What does that mean?
Go Voltron.
All right, go Voltron. Yeah, we've got a whopping 3 creatures with the commander, and these creatures are not there for Voltroning. They're there for other things. Um, so you want to be able to cast a bunch of stuff after combat. The equip costs are pretty low on this, and there's a lot of buff and protection in this deck. So you can protect your Voltron commander. You can make them indestructible and things like that. You can have it. There's like, oh, the Pariah Shield here. That's something that you don't see very often. All damage that would be dealt to you is dealt to the equipped creature instead. So it's like, oh yeah, you want to burn me for 12? Fine. I got the Pariah Shield. It goes to my commander. My commander doesn't care. He's indestructible. Or she. I don't know. And so there's a lot of protection, a lot of buff. So there's a lot of cool things with this Voltron deck. And I mean, it's a pretty cheap deck too. So this is the most expensive deck out of the bunch, but that's because of some of the spicier things that we have in there. Now, before we get to the number one, which Rhino's going to tell you here in just a moment, we want to make sure that you
check out our Patreon.
Okay, our Patreon is patreon.com/mtg_youngmage. We've got we post things on there, not incredibly often, so you don't have to worry about lots of notifications, but you can join as a free member, and you'll get, we'll put these deck lists into the links there. We also have some other things that we give out to free members. We've got something else that we're going to give out to our free members here with this post. And then, hey, if you can do $1 a month, that will really help out with this. We actually build decks, we give them to new players, and it helps out with some of the cost of some of those cards. We got a bunch of cards, but sometimes we need some extras to put in there. So, number one is
Zurgo Thunder's Decree.
All right. What does Zurgo Thunder's Decree have?
Well, he has Mobilize 2.
Okay. So that allows you to make 2/1/1 red warrior creature tokens that you have to
sacrifice.
Well, they're tapped and attacking.
Tapped and attacking.
But that you have to sacrifice at the end of your turn. So that sucks.
But Zurgo says otherwise.
Zurgo says, no, you do not sacrifice. So what did we do with this deck?
Well, there are a lot of mobilized creatures.
Okay, so yeah, so there's a bunch of mobilized. So you're making a ton of these 1/1s, but 1/1s aren't that great. So there's other things in here that
to pump up those 1/1s.
So a lot of anthem effects, Warhorn and war effort and stuff like that. So you can make them really big, and then you can get them trample. And then we've got this wondrous thing right here.
Obsidian Battle Axe.
Okay.
Whenever a warrior enters, you move it.
Yeah, you can move it right onto it. You equip it right on there. And so if a warrior gets destroyed, well, you've mobilized. Another warrior comes in, automatic equip. So you don't have to worry about that equip 3 cost at all. It's just constantly going on to yet a new warrior. So that's kind of a fun sort of thing. Yeah. But there's another thing in here. We've broken the singleton format with 13
Tempest Hawks.
Okay, why do you have 13 Tempest Hawks in here?
Well, you want to always have a creature with flying.
Yeah. So yeah, flying creatures are great. They make great blockers, and to constantly be able to get a Tempest Hawk back out. There's not a lot of mobilize in these colors, but there's enough. And then we saw the Tempest Hawk and just went, oh, okay, this is going to be great. You got Tempest Hawk in there. Wish it was a warrior bird, but oh well. still, it's a 2/2 bird for 3. That you constantly get another one out and another one out and another one out.
When do these end?
Yeah, so they never end. So that right there is our top 6 budget commanders for Tarkir Dragonstorm. So tell us, which one is your favorite? Which one do you think you would like to build? Let us know in the comments below.
And I have more videos coming out soon. So until then, Rhino out.